Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the MarketSite studio, I have Oren Zaslansky. He's the founder and CEO of Flock Freight. We're going to discuss sustainable solutions in the supply chain, and of course, the holiday surge as well. Oren, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about the inefficiencies of the supply chain. With the holiday season coming, I'm sure you're expecting some disruptions across the industry.
Sure, absolutely. About half the trucks on the road are half empty. This leaves shippers typically with two pretty bad options. One is to either purchase an entire truck and only get it half full. The other is to send their shipments and their cargo along multiple stops, which creates a ton of damage, a ton of inefficiency, a ton of waste at a very high cost along the way. Flock Freight's built technology that allows shippers to access that empty space, getting that truck fuller, making sure that goods move in the most sustainable way as well as at the lowest possible cost and the highest quality. Right now, particularly during the holiday season, when there's such time compression, there's a crunch. It's not the typical time of year where delivering something on a Monday or Tuesday is fine. Goods have to be in the store in the hands of consumers on time. We've created that technology in order to help alleviate some of that pressure.
Why are these trucks half empty?
Well, shippers, really, they've got to get the goods out, again, particularly during the holiday season as much as ever. And during the normal course of goods sold, there's no solution that's currently been commercially available on the market prior to Flock Freight. So the shipper, when you get to about a half full truck, that's sort of the tipping point between sending your truck on a mini multiple delivery route, moving through lots of terminals and buildings, which is at much lower quality. So a shipper might as well only get the truck half full, which of course is incredibly wasteful, but at the same time, at least gives them higher quality.
So when you talk about sustainable solutions, what is sustainable when you think about the shipping industry?
Well, certainly making sure a truck is full.
Right.
Every time that truck rolls down the road, it's going to burn a certain amount of diesel fuel. Let's make sure that there's as much cargo on board as is possible. A truck is going to burn relatively the same amount of diesel fuel, whether it's full or half empty. So the least we do is we make sure that truck is full all the time, which reduces the amount of carbon that we produce.
Are you starting to see easing in backlogs that we experienced through the pandemic? Of course, we had the issues with the ports and so forth. Are we back to what's considered normal or pre-pandemic?
In some parts of the industry, we are. In the case of commercial trucking, where Flock is focused, we are largely back to pre-pandemic levels. In the case of ocean freight or cargo, goods coming from primarily Asia and China to the west coast of the U.S., there's still a lot of tension there. Those goods are not quite flowing as they were, but it's largely deflated to near pre-pandemic levels.
And what makes the technology unique with Flock Freight?
Well, again, the ability to find and fill those empty spaces on a truck. That's never been done before. If half of the trucks out there are half empty, if we can access that surplus inventory at low cost, make sure that those trucks are full, we can help the trucking companies make more money by hauling more goods. We can help the manufacturers make sure that they're shipping their goods in the most cost-effective manner. The technology to be able to find and fill those spaces is incredibly complicated.
So I'm sure you're leveraging data in all kinds of ways to be able to identify where these shortages are.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, the data is not commercially available. There's no central place we can go to get the data. The U.S. trucking industry is incredibly fragmented. About 80% of the trucking companies are small businesses, kind of think 5 to 10 trucks on the road. So you have to be able to build those data sets manually to be able to access it and then optimize.
Well, they're mostly owner-operated too, these smaller trucking companies.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you expect fragmentation to alleviate at some point as you're starting to incorporate more data solutions in the trucking industry, the shipping industry?
I don't think we will see consolidation in the U.S. trucking industry, and I think that's a good thing. I think the fragmentation gives us not only a lower cost because there's tremendous competition, but it's also probably the most reliable way of moving your goods. If you think ocean freight, there are only so many ships out there in the water and companies. If you think rail and a potential pending rail strike that's coming up, there aren't a lot of providers out there, which greatly reduces reliability for the movement of those goods. In the case of the highly fragmented trucking fleet, the ability to always be able to access low-cost, high-quality capacity is incredibly important.
All right, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.